Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and like, follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiritual Grind.
Good morning.
We're back again. Aren't you excited? Everybody's excited. I know they're all clapping right now. They're all like saying, yeah, James and Jenny, yeah.
I'm hungry this morning.
You got it. Well, it's probably the energy you're being absorbed by with that cat on your lap.
The fat
It's
cat.
the job of the cat.
Fat cat on my lap.
And constantly wanting food. It's insane. She constantly wants food. I don't understand.
I guess it's her comfort. You know, at first when she did that back in the day, we thought maybe it was her dizzy thing, her vertigo.
Yeah.
Maybe she was eating to
Yeah, I remember.
keep the nausea from the vertigo down. But
I really think
I don't really know.
I think my mom forgot to feed her for a couple of days. I think it caused this. That's what I think. I don't know.
A separation anxiety between her and her food.
Yeah, pretty much. Where she didn't have food or something. She was hungry
I don't
for
know.
a couple of days, and maybe it caused this. And so she has to check it all the time to make sure it's there.
Right. I don't know. She's lived a good life, though.
Oh, yeah, she had a good life.
We were told that with her disabilities and her genetic malfunctions, that she probably wouldn't live to see 2 years old, and she's 9. So whatever we're doing it.
Yeah, she's definitely had a long, good life.
Yep.
So far.
And still very spriteful at
She
9
is.
years
I know.
old.
I remember a year or so, I told her in the closet, listen, either go die or get up and quit doing this. Because she was just hiding in the closet for days.
Yeah. Just very lethargic.
Yeah.
But
She actually let me pick her up that time, remember?
yeah.
And I was like, wow, she must be feeling bad.
Not these days, girl.
Yeah. Nope. Now she's right back to wanting to kill me every time she sees me. But for some reason, I don't know why. It is what it is.
It's probably on the days where you haven't had a bath and you stink.
Oh, are you giving away my secrets? I've had my monthly shower yesterday. Anyway, well, everybody, welcome back, and we're glad you're here listening to us. And we got great news that App Store is actually testing our app.
Yeah.
Yep. LucidiumWorld.com. You can check it out.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's
We
pretty cool.
actually got to put it on our devices now as kind of a pre-beta.
Apparently, the beta thing is no longer exists after the new changes that they made.
Uh-huh.
He made it sound like that it's not a beta test anymore.
Oh.
And so I didn't ask him.
Essentially, that's what we're doing.
Yes.
It's now on our devices, and we're going through each thing, checking for functionality and
So apparently they have created
spelling and
AI software on the App Store that tests. So you don't have to go through a beta anymore.
I see.
So, which is what we downloaded. It's an AI thing.
Oh, I see.
And so it's pretty cool.
It's very cool to see it actually in existence.
And animating.
finally.
I like it. That's pretty cool.
And
it's
animating.
exciting.
Yeah, we've waited a long time for it. Actually, I say that. It hasn't been that long, honestly. It went relatively quickly.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes as humans, we become impatient and we want it now.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we're
October
we're in
28th.
March and we started in October. So that's really a short amount of time considering what we know now about what it takes to code and the layers and everything that it takes.
The integrations is the hardest part, I think, and that's what Sir Og does. He's one of our coders. He does the integrations from the still photos to the integration to the actual animations.
Yeah.
And so it's like
it's very exciting to see it on my phone.
It is. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It's very fun.
We'll be able to show it at the expo too.
Yeah, and all of our different products are beginning to flow in from the printers and stuff, and they're turning out really, really good.
Yeah, for sure.
We did some affirmational. You created some affirmational cups. Cups. They're the tumblers.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
That are insulated.
I can't believe it. I picked it up and I actually created this. That's crazy.
Yeah, they turned out really, really good.
Yeah.
So we got those bags. Some of the T-shirts are starting to trickle in. They look really good too. I'm excited.
I think we'll get the cards today. I don't know. I'm going to send an email after the podcast. I think we get all our birthday cards and the greeting cards stuff today. Yeah. It'll be fun. Anyway, so y'all check it out. They'll be loaded up into the store over the weekend. So if y'all want any of those products that are integrated in or that are created by, not integrated, created by us, that will be in the store. They're all manufactured here in the U.S., so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even the cards are all made here in the U.S.
Yep. The only thing I'm
not sure where the cups come from, but I think she said she gets them somewhere in
local,
like Indiana or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
The only thing I'm still having trouble with are the Oracle cards and the tarot cards printing. Yeah, finding somewhere that will do a good job and still keep the price down to where I don't have to charge an arm and a leg. So if anybody out there has a reputable place to get the decks printed,
yeah, please put it in the comments or send us an email.
For sure, because that's the only part that I'm still having a challenge with.
Sure. You can send us that to our emails if you want to. It's drjenny@themerchcenters.org, or you can send it to support@themerchcenters.org, and our team will take it on.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, you ready for today's topic?
I am.
So this is a topic that's on my mind because I've had one of my YouTube people give me this question on comment yesterday.
Oh.
And this is a shout out to Alec97 something or other J, I think he is. And thank you for the comment. But he questioned about my mirror moments.
Okay.
Posting about how we change hats all the time, and we have a tendency to confuse our true self.
Okay.
By switching hats and becoming different people throughout the day. Like when you get up in the morning, you're you. You take a shower, you become a mom when the kids are up, or you go to work and you become an employee, and you become a different person while you're at work than what you really are because you put on a professional attitude.
Is that why I can never find my heels and my skirts? Because you get out of the shower and you become a mom?
What just happened? What was that?
You said we get out of the shower and we become a mom. You didn't say dad as well. So
yeah, that's a good point, I guess.
I was just wondering if that's what happens to my skirts and my heels because I can't find them.
No, you threw all those away, remember?
I gave them to Goodwill because I don't dress like that now. I don't have to.
Well, that you didn't trust all those.
I don't have to wear those characters.
But anyway, so throughout the day, we become different people. And you be a mom, you be a dad. Let me add that in there. You become an employee, a boss, a manager, an executive, a server, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, you become different people throughout the day because we, from the interior, want to be the best at what we do, no matter what it is that we do.
Right.
And so we will, by nature, put on the hat of that person that we're being throughout the day. Now, the question was about how do you know you've taken the hats off? because there's times he's apparently, he said in his comment that he is a manager and he has like 40 employees that he handles.
Uh-huh.
And he had his son yesterday, or last weekend, say to him, "I am not your employee, Dad."
Ooh, that's the best indicator right there.
And he said, "Well, I thought I was at home." And I always say to myself when I come home, "Hey, I'm home."
Yeah.
But apparently I'm still putting on that hat.
Yep.
And he said, "How do you know you're confusing your identities?"
Well, I mean, the best way is whenever a loved one or a family member or friend calls it out on you.
Right. He's talking about, I think the question he's wanting to put out there is how do we do it ourselves?
Yeah, I get it.
And
I
is there some
understand.
kind of, he actually asked, is there some kind of a ritual that I can do or something that makes me identify what hat I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Or just to make sure I remove all the hats and become a dad again?
Right. Yeah.
And so, because, and that, like I told him in the comment, you're still not being you. You're putting on your dad hat when you're at your son.
Yeah.
And you're the true, honest self of you. If you identify as dad as you, then, you have to make sure that you still have you.
Right.
Because that's where one of the biggest confusers are for people is they have a tendency to say that I'm a dad first. I'm a boss first. They put those things in perspective in a way that they tell their subconscious mind that they're not being themselves anymore.
Right.
Which is what detours, I think, in my opinion. Now, I went the Dr. Jenny version of this, but in my mind, it detours them actually being themselves, because what they do is, we actually talked about this the other day about self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
If you put on the hat all the time and you identify yourself as I'm a dad first, then you're self-sacrificing your own time, because when you don't have your own time to be you, to even if it's just 15 minutes a day to set in who you are, then you will lose track, I think, in the long term of your internal goals. Like, because we hear it all the time. People say, I don't know, I got married and I have no goals. I become nothing. I watched a TikTok this morning of a girl that was crying on there because she always wanted to be a nurse, but she had become a mom and quit trying to be a nurse and lost track of that goal in life. Yeah. And now she don't know what to do, and she's in her 30s. Yeah. She don't know how to even start becoming a nurse now, because everything's so much different now. And it kind of just all falls into place. It's the identities that's doing it. And we lose ourselves into our own identities.
Yeah. You ready for me to take the mic?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jenny.
Okay, so let's break it down. Wicca, wicca, wicca.
Wicca, 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 what?
Okay, so the ultimate goal here is to be able to switch identities or switch hats, but still maintain your underlying identity of yourself,
right,
and your essence. That's the ultimate goal,
right?
But that takes some practice over years, and so what we do unconsciously or inadvertently, however you want to word that, is we compartmentalize because we don't always know how to be ourselves. And what I mean by that is the self that loves to, and I'll use me for an example. Myself loves to just be ostentatious. And
can you spell that?
No, absolutely not. I have different things that I enjoy doing. I have certain ways that I enjoy dressing if I'm lounging or going to town or whatever I define as me when I don't have to put on any other hat.
Yeah.
Then there are the different compartments that we've created, such that you've talked on. I am a manager.
Yep.
I'm a parent.
Yep.
I'm a daughter. I'm a, whatever those are. if they have, from your perspective, a job description or a character description that doesn't allow some of the characteristics of your natural self to be part of that identity, then that's when the identities will be very different.
Yes.
So let me break that down a little further. What I mean by that is, if you have a job in corporate America, and again, I'll use me. I love to cuss. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I love to just say cuss words because, I don't know, that's just who I am.
Because they're
And
fun.
if I go to my corporate America job where the rules and regulations say cussing is wrong and impolite and unprofessional and not allowed, then I have to tether back, or I have to hold back that aspect of me in my job title.
Yes.
So in the permission slip that we run is, okay, I'm going to get to be me when I go home. But when I'm in this job, if I want this job and I want the things that go along with it, usually it's a paycheck, then I'm going to allow myself to become a different identity that doesn't say cuss words all the time, because I've made a contractual obligation with this company to abide by their policies and procedures. That's a conscious choice that I made by taking the job.
Right.
But in doing that, there are parts and pieces of me or aspects of me that I have to sit on the shelf until I get off and punch out for the day. And that still is a conscious choice by people.
Yes.
But sometimes you can get lost in that, and you can forget to go back and take those parts and pieces off the shelf and reintegrate them back into the authentic you. And if you're not consciously reintegrating you back into your life, you inadvertently can stay in that character of office manager, for example, as the example you brought with you, where the son called him out and said, "I'm not one of your employees."
Right.
That's the easiest way to tell that you're not changing hats, is when somebody else calls it out on you. But the self-check on that is, again...
Well, that's the... I want to interject right there.
Yeah.
Is... First of all, I want to say to this is, if anybody, especially in your immediate family, your kids, the people you entrust in your circle, say that to you, like I'm not your employee, or or any of that kind of stuff, don't take that disrespectful. Right. Use it as a pilot or as a plant, because this is what somebody is truly perceiving you as.
That's right.
So,
and don't sit there and say, "Well, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that."
Right.
You devalue their perspective of being treated that way, and it's denying you the opportunity to look at yourself.
Well, I used to be guilty of the same thing all the time.
And not be accountable for what may truly be going on underneath.
Right.
Really take the criticism and look at it and check in with it and make sure, because when you're running around in your world on an unconscious level and not actually creating a habit to change roles, it could very well be happening. And if you have a loved one that's gone out on a branch and gotten the courage up to say to you, "Listen, I'm not your employee."
Right.
It took great courage for them to say that to someone that they respect, and they meant no disrespect for it, but you're doing it often enough that it's
bothering them. Yeah,
it's aggravating to them.
Yep.
And you need to be aware of it. So don't discount it by saying, "No, I'm not."
Right.
Or being argumentative, because that's not beneficial.
Correct. And that's a defense mechanism.
It is. It's a denial.
Because a lot of people don't like to look at themselves, and I'm one of them. I used to be guilty of the same thing all the time. I still do it occasionally now. And
I don't know. According to the mirror, you stand a long time in front of the mirror, gooping up and putting your
the hell are you talking about this morning? Why are you focused on me in the bathroom this morning?
I'm just ribbing you.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know what's going on. I'm the brunt of Dr. Jenny's jokes this morning. If you all think that she's being mean to me, please put a comment.
Oh,
tell her to quit being mean to me.
Stop being a baby.
And picking on me.
Cece, get him a bottle. Anyway, so when you want to make sure that you are changing hats to the appropriate venue that you're in, or to the appropriate part of your life that you're in, you do a check system. You put in a check system, especially whenever you're trying to catch habits that have been running, because we do tend to. I even did it, 24 years in the ER nursing career. I treated everything as though people were going to die if I didn't follow a process and a procedure. Yeah. And one day in a restaurant that you and I created together, I was sitting over there.
Tell the whole story.
Focusing on the pickles and whether they were 1 inch away from the edge of the bun or 2, and the whole ticket line was backed up and people were mad because they weren't getting their order. And you said, people are not going to die if you don't get
your pickles touch.
And I immediately had this existential crisis. I threw the bun down. Yep. I went off into the office and closed the door and just like.
In fact, I think you laid down and meditated.
And because he was right. It was completely right. But I had drugged that over into the other areas
because
of my life.
Because you didn't take the head off,
And I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't know that I was doing it. It was totally on a subconscious basis because I had worked so many years in that career, 6 days a week. It became inbred in me and a part of my fabric. Yeah. And I wasn't making the differentiation.
Yeah.
So what I began to do when I broke that habit is I began to ask myself, okay, what character are we currently playing, and does it fit the circumstance or event that I'm in?
Right.
I asked myself that question, and I did some checks and balances. Does this circumstance or this situation or this event that I'm experiencing warrant me having my nurse hat on? Mm-hmm. And when I answered that, then which was usually no. Yeah. Then I mentally envisioned myself stepping out of that uniform. Yeah. I like to do mental imagery. Yeah. That's what works for me in my bag of tricks.
Right.
So I would mentally imagine myself stepping out of that uniform and stepping into whatever costume or character that fits what I'm doing at the moment.
Right.
And each one of those costume changes in my visualization had a very purposeful job description attached to it while I was training myself out of the habit.
Right.
Eventually, you get to a place when you've practiced the habit and you consciously can be aware that you're doing it and practice not doing that anymore.
Right.
You get to where you can integrate your true self into life, life in general, and you'll have less and less characters that you have to create to navigate the reality.
Yeah.
Especially when you come to a place of, because part of the reason your characters are created is because you've run as a system that says, if I act my normal self, I'm not going to be accepted into this group. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be accepted by them.
Or I'm not going to be the best at my job. Or
right. Or they are not going to accept me exactly the way that I am.
Yeah.
So the underlying key to it is once you get to a place where you accept you exactly the way that you are with unconditional eyes, so to speak, to look at, a lot of that will fade away, and the need for multiple different identities or characters will fade away because you're not trying to impress other people. You're not trying to live your life according to their standards or their beliefs or their expectations. You're truly living life from your desires and your wants.
Yeah.
And so you'll find that as you grow and train into that, a lot of those descriptions or characters will just dissolve because they're not necessary anymore. You'll find that they're attached to when you go to the neighborhood barbecue, you've got to be the character of the Joneses,
right,
so that you can keep up with all of them. And then that has its own storyline, that character,
right,
of, you got to wear certain clothing so that it puts out a certain image. And the stories you tell while you're sitting around gabbing at the local barbecue are stories of possibly that you have this thing or you have that thing, so it makes you look like you're in a social status that's equivalent to what you view that person holding the barbecue has.
Yeah.
So,
that's for those that don't have like visual capability, because we have met many people that say, I can't visualize those things. And,
right.
And what came to my mind when you were saying the story was, I remember back in the day, I used to work at a place called George Moore's Fish Farm in Oklahoma. I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I remember. And every time we would go over there, he would always invite us for dinner.
Okay.
He had this huge house, this huge table, blah, 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 blah. And when we get to the door, he would say, shoes here, hats here.
Yeah.
And then finally one day, my buddy that worked with me there, he asked him, why do you always take your boots and your hat off? He said, when I walk through this door, I'm not a fish farm owner anymore.
Right.
I'm now me and my wife's favorite best friend and husband.
Yeah.
And so when I'm going in here, I'm going to be loving and caring. And he just totally, the way he explained it was a ritualistic style.
Yeah.
Where he come out of his hat, literally.
Yeah.
He took his hat off and hung it on the door and changed personalities because his wife does not like it when he is doing it, being a businessman.
That's right. And that was going to be the next thing that I recommend, is that some people have to physically do that when they walk in the door.
Yeah.
And if you notice me, when we were working in the corporate America, what was the first thing I would do? I would come in and change clothes.
Yeah, always.
That would, because you would always say, wow, that transformation didn't take long.
Right.
Like that was the first thing I did. I walk in the door and I'm already peeling clothes off and changing into a different.
Sometimes those clothes are still laying on the floor.
Whatever. Absolutely not. And so that would be the next recommendation is if you're not there yet on visualizing, or that maybe doesn't work for you, physically come home and take your uniform off, but do it with intention and do it with a conscious mindset.
Right.
Don't just do it because, maybe you work in a maintenance position where your clothes get dirty and you're just changing because you want clean clothes on.
Yeah.
Do it from a conscious mindset of I'm changing costumes so that I can become a different character.
Right.
Another thing you and I would do, and we still do a little bit, especially though when we were working in corporate America, is I set the tone that, all right, we have 10 minutes to do work debriefing.
The debrief, yep.
Get anything and everything that's aggravating you or want to talk about off your chest about your job. Then we leave it there. We had a place on the patio where we would go and we would do that.
Yep.
We got 10 minutes apiece to kind of talk through anything that was still, I guess, open-ended.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Bounce it off of our person that we vent with, our friend, whatever.
Yep.
Which is you and I,
Right.
each other, for us. And then at the end of that, we both knew that, okay, that character's done. It goes in the closet till tomorrow at 8 a.m. when it's time to take that
Put the hat back
costume back on. And then we made conscious decision to have our communication, our interaction be about our family life.
on. Right. Yep. And that's one of the things that I think
You have to catch it consciously.
Yep.
It can't run subconsciously in the background.
Right.
So again, awareness is the key number one thing first. You've got to catch yourself doing it.
Right.
And then put some kind of technique in place that makes you change characters.
Right. And that was another thing that he did, by the way, I was going to throw into the comment in there, is, he always invited us to dinner. And we would go sit down at his table, and his wife was very service-oriented. Man, she loved to serve people and
Dote on them.
dote on the situation.
Yeah.
But there's one thing she never did. She never asked about the fish farm. She never asked about any of that stuff. It was about personal. How you feeling today, babe? Is your heel, whatever.
Right.
Because he had a bad heel. And she would ask about how are you feeling. Mm-hmm. Never once did she ask about the fish farm.
Right.
Or any of the business transactions going on, including the hay, because he had a big hay business too.
Yeah.
And if she wanted to talk about the business, she came out to him working.
Yes.
And they had those boundaries very much set, because he would not talk about the business inside. Would not.
Right.
I don't know how many times I heard his employees try to talk about it, and he'd say, not inside this house.
That's right.
And so he became very ritualistic about it to help himself get through things. And and that's one of the things that we have in today's world that has really changed that kind of relationship in this exact scenario from the comment from the listener. Mm-hmm. And that is 100% that the single family worker that's, providing for the entire family is no longer exists. And so now you have two people work.
Right.
And so when they get home, they normally get home, and now everything's so frantic because they're trying to get kids' homework done, and all this stuff goes on. You still have to find a new ritual or a new visionary place, or even some kind of a new way to trigger the thought. Because, man, he was very, very good at it. And
even just the question, when you've got both people out of the house all day working their corporate job, when you do come home and you want to look at your spouse or loved one and say, how was your day? Their knee-jerk response, because statistically, we spend a lot of hours at our job, most people.
Yep.
When you're asked, how was your day, you automatically go to that place, if you're not consciously aware of it, well, Betty Sue screwed up on the documents and it made the customer mad. So you immediately go into the story of your work day.
Yeah.
And that begins a conversation where you're both constantly talking about work inside of your home, and that gets all tangled up and twisted and confused.
Right.
So you have to make a conscious decision like he did.
Yeah.
And you and I do the same thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You've got to have work-life balance. That's what I call it. I call it work-life balance.
You can have anything with balance. Everything's got to be balanced.
Yeah, you've got to balance everything out. And so when you walk through the threshold of that door, that needs to trigger to you somehow, some way that, okay, I'm walking through the threshold of my home. And so now in this space, what characters am I? And practicing changing into those. Because when you go to work, most places will say, when you walk through the door, all of your personal stuff gets dumped outside right there. Leave it
at the door. Yep.
I don't want to hear your wild stories.
I used to teach this seminar.
Yeah. And, so your workplace doesn't want to hear your personal life.
Right.
So why in the world do you bring your work life into your personal bubble?
That's right.
You need to create the same standards and the same expectations in your home bubble.
Right.
That needs to be your personal sanctuary with you and your family. And like I said, if you need 5 or 10 minutes to debrief with your best friend or your sounding board, which is your spouse or whatever, then give yourself a time frame.
Right.
And if you literally, until you're practiced at it, have to set an egg timer,
Yeah.
because, used to, we would look at our phone and we would say, okay, it's this time now. We have 10 minutes.
Yep.
And at the end of 10 minutes, whatever you weren't finished talking about, you just put it in the closet until tomorrow, because
The
it's
IDGAF file.
okay.
But
Crickets.
yeah, you know what that is?
I don't give a fuck.
The IDGAF, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so put it
IDGAF.
back and come back to it. But I wanted to add to that comment to the is we've been talking about changing the hat from work to home.
Yeah.
Because what I think where some of the confusing comes in to this, the comment was more about him being a dad and time. And he was confusing the work to the dad time. And I think that the process behind this is making an understanding that you have to create a ritual for every scenario in your mind.
Right. For every character.
Right. Not only do you have to have a ritual for what you're not going to do.
Yeah.
But you have to make a ritual for what you want to do.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I just hadn't got there yet.
Right. And so
this is a pretty meaty topic, because even when you're not a dad, you still are you.
Right.
And if you don't have a daily routine that allows you to be you, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, where you get to just have that segment of time to do whatever you do, whether it be meditating, whether it play arcade games, whether it be just vegging out, whatever your routine is that allows you to be exactly you in your little she shed or your little he shed or wherever. Man cave. Doing whatever you get to do, want to do to bring you into balance personally, then you're going to be shit to provide for anybody or do anything for anybody. You're going to burn out.
Right. Yep.
And so you've got to have balance in that as well. You've
Agreed.
got to give each character their identified space that they get to exist in. And then the true you that is you, that has your own enjoyments. Not the you that's the dad doing what the kids want. Not the you that's the worker who's taking and checking emails after you freaking get home.
Yep.
The you that enjoys getting in your sweatpants and going and working out.
Yep.
Or the you that enjoys getting in front of the sewing machine and crafting. Or sitting in front of the PlayStation gaming for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
You've got to give yourself, you've got to become selfish.
Yep.
Let me say that again. Selfishness is not wrong and negative by nature.
It's healthy.
People who call you selfish are calling you that because you are not doing for them what they could and should be doing for themselves.
Or
you have to get selfish and embody your own routine very staunchly and not let anything waver from that.
Well, that, and also people that when people start labeling you with things, that is a projected expectation.
That's on their part.
That's on their part.
That's
they
right.
They had an expectation of you coming home and not being a boss today. I wanted you to come home and spend time with me, but that was uncommunicated. And so when you don't meet that criteria, like the son telling him that I'm not your employee, Dad, that was an expectation that he was having, that you were going to be a dad. And at that time, that wasn't really communicated, but there are certain kind of situations that kind of communication doesn't happen. So you have to create your own process.
Right. And so if your day looks like you need to go and sit quietly in your own space before you can put the dad hat on after having the corporate America hat on for a little bit. Set those boundaries.
Yeah, totally.
And give yourself the space to do that. If you need to go and sit in your bedroom and set a timer and do whatever it is you do for 30 minutes when you first get home to come out of one character and get ready to go into another, set those boundaries. That way the expectation is clear to everyone and nobody's guessing. There's no guesswork. It's perfectly fine to do that.
Totally.
And so we need to talk about a new and up and coming avenue of this as well, because this can be very challenging. And you and I have lived in this lifestyle of working together and working from home and working in the same place that you live.
Right.
So when you work from home, that has to look even a little more different.
Correct.
And you have to put those guidelines in place even more strictly.
Yes, because you're confusing the lines a lot more.
That's right. Otherwise, those lines will bleed together. And, you know, if your office, your desk, and your podcast station are literally 2 steps away from your living room and you have a thought of, oh, crap, I didn't get that done, it's very easy to pick your phone up and send that email right quick, or pick yourself up and go sit at your desk and say, you know what, this will only take 2 seconds. I'll do it while the noodles are boiling down. Yeah. You have to stop yourself and say, will this not keep until tomorrow? Yeah. And catch yourself doing that, because the last thing you want is for your work from home job to bleed into your family life to where it makes you feel like you're working all the time, because that can create burnout as well. And your partner that's taking the journey with you can begin to feel like that all you're doing is working as well.
Well, it creates a domino theory when you start creating that imbalance, because I used to be very guilty of it. When you gray the lines and now you're behind becoming the different hat and behind becoming something else, and it puts you behind, and then you end up, well, I'll just do this and this at the same time. And because I used to do it all the time. I would do work emails when I was at home.
I know.
I did it all the time. And those kind of things, it just puts you behind on everything else, which what makes it even easier in your own mind to multitask those hats.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do that. I know it's easier to say than done, and I get that. But if you just bring it to your awareness, you'll find out over time, you'll start putting those hats in the right place.
Right. With practice.
Yeah.
And consciously catching yourself doing it.
Yeah, because I used to do it all the time. I would check my email and I'd be like, dang. And I threw after you and I had the conversation about it.
We definitely had a conversation about it. And I'm like, I don't like this version.
Right.
And I would really enjoy it if you could actually come home from work and be home.
Yeah.
You know, don't have one foot out the door still at work. If you still have work to do, I would rather you work late for an hour and get it all done so you could feel like you could come home and actually take the work costume off at the door.
Yep.
Because it starts to, you know, as the spouse of that person, you know, I begin to feel the imbalance of things. Like I didn't feel like I ever was able to get your undivided attention on things. Yeah. You would definitely, and you know, I don't want to sit here and badger, but I can just talk about my experience. And so therefore I had to sit down and I had to say, okay, listen, as your loving wife and as your partner in all of this, we need to maybe negotiate the terms of our contract a little bit differently, because I would like to have a different experience. Yeah. And what that did was allow you to know what what kind of experience I was wanting to have. Right. And it let you know that some of the things you were doing weren't providing me that experience.
Correct.
Then it gave you the opportunity to say, okay, is this something I can and am willing to do differently?
Right.
And that's how I think a spousal relationship works, is when something's bugging one of you, it's okay to bring it to the table in a very calm manner and say, listen, can we renegotiate this and have a conversation? Because I would just like for things to look a little differently.
Yeah.
You don't come with ultimatums. You don't come with, you're going to, by God, do this differently or you're out on your head.
Right.
But yeah, bringing it to the awareness when it doesn't quite look like you want to as a spouse is perfectly okay, as long as it's done with loving intention.
Find your time.
Yeah.
Even no matter what it is, if you're married, you're whatever, find your time.
That's right. And still within that.
Still within you, because if you don't find your time, then you will have no time for yourself.
And you will burn out.
And burn out on everything.
Everywhere in the life pie.
I used to be bad about it, man. I was
Burned
really
out
bad.
on job. You'll get burned out on being the spouse. You'll get burned. And it'll change your perspective.
It will.
Instead
and then you
of
start blaming everything else.
Right. Even like with the spouse situation that I just described, when you get to a burnout place because you're not balancing everything,
Mm-hmm.
it'll feel like she or he is nagging at you
Yep.
when they're just really trying to have an honest, loving conversation.
Right.
Then you go to work and it's like, oh my God, everybody's just fucking bitching at me and pounding on my head because this and this and this.
Yep.
It will literally change your perspective. And it'll usually 9 times out of 10, it becomes very negative when you begin to get into that burnout place, because you're not finding your own personal time to give yourself permission to go do the things that you need or want to do to keep yourself internally healthy and happy and whole and peaceful.
Right. Because if you're not internally balanced and healthy and peaceful and whole, you're not going to be 100% at any of the other hats.
No. You're going to be impatient. You're going to be grumpy. You're going to be...
And that's like I used to tell people is the best thing that you can do is give yourself the time to heal, because your employer hired you because of you. Yeah. Your wife, your spouse, whatever, married you because they married you.
Right.
And and just like your kids expect you to be that support, that loving, caring person, parental figure, whatever that is in their life. And when you come home and don't take the hat off and become that person, because that's what you have taught, then you're screwing yourself, because you're not taking care of your own time.
Yeah, 10 times out of 10, what happens is whenever you take on a new identity, like a new job, or you get married, before that happened, you were doing some sort of ritual that made you you.
Right.
Whatever that looked like. Going out, hanging out with friends every, Thursday night's guys' night, you're going to play poker or whatever. Right. Whatever that looked like. 10 times out of 10, what ends up happening is you start sacrificing those moments that were your moments and giving them to the new spouse, the new job, the new child, the new whatever, right. Instead of pocketing things and categorizing things a little differently. Just because the new child comes along and the baby's here doesn't mean that it's no longer okay to set aside your personal time so that you stay being the person that you were when that person met you or when that person gave you the job.
Right.
You got to continue to do the routine that kept you, that showed up for that job or showed up for that relationship. Because if you stop, then you will morph into somebody that's not peaceful and happy and balanced and bubbly and calm, cool, and collective. You'll begin to be agitated and irritable and short-tempered and resentful and I hate my job and I hate my life or whatever that looks like. That feeling is just you missing the routine and the authentic you
Right.
that you were before these different chapters opened up in your life.
Right.
And people forget to give themselves permission to go and do some of those things. Oh my
Right.
God, I'm a parent now. I'm a new parent, so I can no longer do the things that I love to do. This has got to go away because I don't have time. And it's perfectly okay for you and your partner to sit down and say, you know, even though the new baby is here, we still have to have time for ourselves.
Right.
And so it's okay for the wife to say, okay, here's the child. It's your turn. I'm going to go take 30 minutes for myself.
Yeah.
Bubble bath, sit and color, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for the dad to say, all right, it's your turn. And if you have to make a schedule at first to keep it in your awareness and to actually create a habit, that's a very healthy routine to do that.
Well, you see, and you know what it causes those kind of things is like the example I gave earlier with George. His wife never bugged him because there was times he worked a lot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, especially when he's trying to build this business, and he did a very good job of it.
Yeah.
But she never nagged him about anything because when he came home,
But he did it himself.
He did it himself. That's where exactly what I'm saying is because nowadays, for some reason, people seem to think that self-sacrifice is honorable.
Right.
And
what they don't know is that inadvertent consequences come out of that.
That's right.
And what I mean by that is you may be okay sacrificing yourself and your own time to put more time in a job or whatever, but who is in your bubble that's also sacrificing time with you?
That's right.
You've got to think about the other people sometimes. And that's different than them esteem or trying to satisfy because, you know, if like when you have a spouse, if you all went into a business agreement called a marriage and you said, I'm going to spend this much time with this person creating what's called life and a family. And then all of a sudden you get this new job and you think, oh, it's fine. I'll just spend some extra time and give the boss what he wants. Who's in the wake of that decision?
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Who's
your wife, your kids, your husband,
the inadvertent consequences of that decision?
That's correct.
Like who's it affecting?
And then the more it happens, the easier it becomes for you to do.
That's right.
And then what happens, and which is one of the biggest problems of, you know, why new marriages end up with so many troubles in the first 5 to 7, you know, 3 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. And that's because people, they turn into this hat. Like I think a real good example that's in my head is say, for example, somebody has been dating another person for say 2 years and then they get married. And now who's in the responsibility lanes or files, it becomes, oh, we have to build a home. We have to build this whole thing. And we have to have money in the bank. We have to buy cars. We have to get ready for kids and we have to go through all this stuff. Right. And then you start self-sacrificing in all directions.
Right.
And the bad problem about it is that other partner, whoever that is that's with you, they married you prior to all of this.
Right.
And
you were a different person.
And you were a different person. And now you have turned into this because you took yourself into a different hat that's uncommunicated.
And that you're not coming out of.
And that's why you have so many divorces in relationships. I don't like to talk about negativity about that kind of stuff, but the reality behind it is it's not the other person's fault ever. If you're not giving them the things and that you have put on a different hat or you're confusing your time and the time that they have come to expect, then that's what's causing the problem. That's the issue.
Yeah. And so my add to that would be, because we all do it. When you're new in a relationship, you carve out extra time to cultivate that relationship.
Totally.
When you're in a new job, you carve out time to cultivate
That's the courting stage.
Right. And we do it.
Yep.
until the routine balances back out. But that's the catcher right there, is when you don't balance it back out because you're not consciously aware that you've given it extra time, be it a job or a relationship, and you don't balance it back out, say, for example, on the job, and that's where you get into a little bit of the wonkiness of the
rub
reality
up against place, yeah.
versus like a intimate relationship with a partner or now a spouse. When you've carved out extra time to spend with them, cultivating that relationship and spending less time at work to temporarily get this relationship off and running, that partner comes to expect that from that relationship as part of the negotiated view of what this relationship looks like. Right. So then when you go to try and balance everything out without communicating it, then it makes it feel like you were faking it or under a facade.
Right.
Like, oh, now I'm seeing the true colors.
You're right. Yep.
You're really a workaholic, and you spent the last 8 months pretending like you were, something different. So don't get them used to a version of you that doesn't truly exist.
Right. Or don't become something
and
either.
Don't change them into a version that you don't like later.
Right.
So just be
That's
careful
one of your
with
favorite
that.
phrases. Be careful.
Don't change
turn
me into
something you don't like.
Later.
That's right. Yep.
And so making sure that when you're going into these different areas, these different characters, just be aware. That's the key, I think, number one step.
I totally agree with it. And, I think keeping the internal peace within you and realizing that you need to have time. Like every single morning I get up, I spend probably an hour, sometimes 2, just by myself.
That's right.
And then when I go in the shower, you spend an hour by yourself.
Sometimes 2.
Whatever it takes. And the reason why we do that, it has nothing to do with I don't want to spend time with my spouse. And if spouses seem to think that, that's their problem.
That's right.
Because it
definitely needs a conversation.
That's right. Because that's not a you problem, that's a them problem.
Right.
Like you and I, everybody talks about how good our relationship is, and we are together literally all the time.
Yeah.
But we also have our private time apart.
That's right.
That we spend, sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours.
Well, and even still, sometimes if you have to run an errand in town, you'll ask me if I want to go. And if I'm needing just an extra window of me space, I'll say, you know what? I think I'll stay behind and, just have me energy.
Yeah.
Or letting you have
your energy. Yep.
Whatever,
totally.
Or sometimes you going to town by yourself gives you the opportunity to have an extra
time to think or whatever.
Time to think about whatever. And so giving each other that space too. When your spouse comes to you and says, I need some me time.
Yep.
Don't run them in the ringer and say, okay, well, the laundry's not done. The trash is not taken out.
Right.
You're so fucking selfish.
I haven't seen you all week.
Haven't seen you all day. Give them the space to become balanced and calibrated back into them that you fell in love with, and don't be so gritty with them.
Well, every relationship book I have ever read, listened to, any of that kind of stuff, every one of them say, spend time apart.
Yeah, excellent.
Don't, because if you don't, then you don't, first of all, you never get alone time, and you never get a chance to miss them.
Well, and it's not only that, but, before you got together, we kind of turned this into a relationship thing, but I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Before the two of you got together, this individual quite possibly was a single individual. Mm-hmm. Being able to call their own shots in their reality.
Didn't have to answer to nobody or anything.
Do their own daily routine of what makes them them.
Right.
And so if you want them to continue to be the them that you fell in love with, or that you enjoy being around, give them the space to do their routine that they were doing prior to you coming along.
Right.
So that they can continue to check in and to balance out and to recalibrate every day to who they are as they learn, grow, and transcend the different things that they're going through and integrate all of that.
Right.
Give them the space to breathe, man.
And I will throw out a little secret hint.
Ooh, tell a secret.
You want to teach your other significant other, your spouse, whatever it is, you want to teach them something. One day, walk up to them, give them $100 and say, here, go do something and take a friend. Take your best friend. Or go by yourself. And just let them go do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And you'll learn two things. A, how appreciative they are. And B, how appreciative you are.
Right. Yeah.
And that is a huge step to do.
Space, that from the energy, from the breathing, just
no control, no
giving
nothing.
yourselves permission with that unconditional, no strings attached, no judgment.
Don't care what you do.
Just giving that opportunity.
Right.
Without any,
And I find guys are better at this than most people are. When it comes to
what?
To doing things like that. Like most of my friends in Texas, every single morning they go golfing with their friends.
Uh-huh.
And then they come home in the afternoon and they take their wives to supper.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the evening they watch a movie with their family. That's like a ritual that my friends, for some reason, they all do it.
Yeah.
They go golf on Saturday morning. They spend the afternoon with their wife, and then the evening with their kids. And then every night they'll go, like one guy I know, he goes sits on his back patio and he has a bourbon and he just sits to himself.
Yeah.
And it's a great ritual. And every person or every acquaintance I've ever had in this scenario that have what I would view as an awesome relationship, mm-hmm. they had this kind of a routine that they would always do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's a type of relationship that you can create with any title.
Animosity. Yep.
No, what I mean is it's not just a spousal relationship.
Right.
It's a parental relationship. It's a parental.
Yeah.
You can create and establish that type of relationship with any of those titles, you know.
And so
create boundaries, create different things and put them in place, but communicate them.
Right. Totally agree.
Like
we're pushed. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to give another example. A lot of people, as their parents age into that age group of the child actually becoming now the caregiver, and the parent is very, much in the elderly state, they become quite needy.
Yeah.
And the children think that they've got to go running to their beck and call to honor and obey and respect them. Mm-hmm. That relationship has to be defined with boundaries and stuff as well. Yeah. Or you'll get lost in that type of relationship 100%. As well.
Yeah, totally will.
All the different relationships, you've got to decide what they look like and then structure them accordingly.
Agreed. I agree. Well, I think we're kind of pushed on time.
Yeah, it may be that we come back to this. Talk it out on another layer, but
for sure.
We'll see.
Because this goes deep. And thank you, whoever commented. Now I can't remember his name. I assume it's him. I don't know. Didn't have any pictures, but anyway. Hey guys, don't forget to go to the website. Check it out. www.themercenters.org. Hey, check out the new store. It'll be loaded this weekend. You can get all the products in there, even the custom made cups and the shirts and all that stuff will be in there.
Fun stuff in there.
And don't forget to check out the OzarkResearchInstitution.com.
It's .org. I double checked.
Oh, it is .org?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. OzarkResearchInstitute.org.
Yeah, I always put the link in the description.
Okay.
So they can just click on it.
So we'll be there the first week of April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we look forward to seeing everybody there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, follow, share, and
ring that bell.
Hey, we hope you all have an awesome day.
Love ya.